group opines that power problem persists because the buyers lack an understanding of the complexities of the sector. He spoke at a senior executive course 38 training session for the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. And he said specifically, those who bought generating and distributing companies thought it was going to be like mobile phones. He said they borrowed 90% of their funds in dollars and in a base, and they were hoping to base this on an income from Naira, and that was not realistic. So that is his rationale for saying it should be reversed. However, the Independent National Electoral Commission has published the list of candidates for November 26 governorship election in Ondo. And again, as usual, some controversies are beginning to emerge. Jimoh Ibrahim was listed as the PDP governorship candidate with Alabi Omotayo as the running mate. The others are Rotimi Akeredolu for APC, Olusola Oke for Alliance for Democracy, Olu Agunloye is for the Social Democratic Party, while Bolarinwa Aidi is for UPN. But meanwhile, an Akure High Court has precluded INEC from substituting or replacing Eitayo Jegede as the candidate of the PDP. That is an Akure High Court ruling. Similarly, an Abuja High Court had ruled and directed that INEC to uphold Jimoh's candidacy as a candidate for the PDP. However, INEC, in publishing the list of candidates, provided a caveat, and he said that this is subject to ruling of a superior court.
Well, Bayo, thanks a lot. That story that you just talked about now is also here on the front page. It's an earpiece beside the nameplate of the Punch newspaper. It says, Ondo, INEC drops Jegede, names Jimoh Ibrahim as PDP candidate. Details of that story can be found on page 12. And just to say that I think there was a headline in one of the papers yesterday or the day before that one of the factional chairpersons of PDP was issuing a threat that if Jimoh Ibrahim wasn't named as the candidate by INEC, some persons were going to sleep at Kuje prison that night. So, all right, Bayo, let's continue above the nameplate of the Punch. $9 billion lost to Northeast insurgencies, says presidential panel. $9 billion. Bayo, again, $9 billion. When are we going to be converting this to Naira? But let's have it in Naira so that, it's still the national legal tender for us here in Nigeria.
That's the orientation we were
yes.
talking about.
And then Deputy Governor, Southern Kaduna meets to end killings. That's on page 18 in greater detail. Now, list story says, with a kicker, $2.1 billion arms cash. Again, this is in dollars. Ex-leaders, top monarchs, and clerics among beneficiaries. Details of the story can be found on page 7, where some former heads of state are also alleged to have been part of the largesse. On page 7 of Punch, you also have the story, Abati gets bail, ex-FCT minister remains in EFCC custody. Bye.
Well, there were also publications about the highlights of the budget released so far. And there have been concern expressed about the budget that so far about 2.5 trillion has been released out of the 6.06 trillion that was budgeted for 2016. And people are lamenting that we just have 2 months to go for the end of the year. But there is a law of the National Assembly that says that the budget takes effect 12 months from the day the president assents to the bill. I also have to quickly point out that the Senate is also contemplating a bill to stop the sale of Naira on the streets. I think they should also...
Sale of Naira?
Where on the street.
Wait, is it the Naira or the dollar?
Naira.
We have always had a CBN regulation, particularly the mint notes that are used for spraying. And if you recall,
yes,
there was an earlier directive prohibiting, spraying of the national currency.
Yes.
But there was an event that
it was described as the abuse of the Naira.
Absolutely. But the event took place many years ago at the Aso Villa, and then people were,
All right, gentlemen, Bayo, thank you very much. We do hope you have a good weekend.
Yes.
So we'll see you again on Monday. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we'll take in another break. When we come back, we'll start our conversation. Stay with us.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Dettol Mom. She only trusts Dettol antiseptic liquid to kill 100 illness-causing germs, and it's recommended for cuts and scrapes. Worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Every goal, every success deserves your all. Only 100% will do. Chivita, 100%. Chivita 100% juice. Made from real natural fruits, with no preservative and no added sugar. The best always believes in 100%.
Chivita, 100% or nothing.
Marketing a service like television broadcast that is truly transient and subjective requires some degree of specialized knowledge and skills. Principles and Practice of Marketing is an intensive 4-week knowledge-sharing class that is geared towards television marketing, media buyers, corporate relations heads with some of the pure tools needed to maximize how best to meet the expectations of customers while remaining profitable. All participants will be exposed to key attributes of service marketing in both traditional and new frontiers of electronic media usage like customer retention, audience priming and rating. The session should not be missed by marketing heads in all radio and television houses, media heads in advertising, public relations agencies, media broadcast, brand support managers and heads of corporate affairs. Venue, NTA TV College Jaws.
Date
31st October to 26 November 2016. Fees 100,000 naira only per participant, accommodation inclusive. NTA Television College Jaws, training you to be the best you want to be.
All right, and now to the issue of discuss today on Good Morning Nigeria, and that is local governments, internally generated revenue and development. But before we introduce our guests, we would like to take this background report from our correspondent Leah Katung Baba today to set a tone for our discussion.
The Nigerian Constitution provides for 3 tiers of government: the federal, state, and local. They are structurally designed to function independently, but reality on the ground suggests otherwise due to the concentration of revenue at the center, which is the engine room of development. Over time, the local governments have turned out to be appendages of the state governments. Hardly are elections conducted, and so the interims or caretaker chairmen are often appointed by the governors, and hence their loyalty. Some schools of thought believe lack of autonomy has caused the local government to be lackadaisical in delivering their mandate, with the handouts dished out to them by the state. With the coming on stream of the Joint Tax Board, taxes are centrally collected and disbursed according to a grid formula. Some analysts are of the opinion that when these taxes are distributed, they still end up in the joint accounts, thereby limiting the ability of the local councils to deliver the basics like education, primary health care, amenities and infrastructure to create an enabling environment for businesses to grow and generate revenue. This development has stunted growth at the grassroots level, especially with the operation of joint accounts by the state and local governments, thereby creating a huge gap in most instances between the people and the government. Efforts have been made at various times to amend the constitution to clearly distinct the roles and relationship often among the 3 tiers of government. This is yet to happen. President Muhammadu Buhari recently played host to the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, and observed that the relationship between the 3 tiers of government is not a very nice one, especially between the local government and the states. This, he said, is a very serious constitutional problem, and unless there is absolute clarity and transparency, the relationship will continue to be exploited against the interest of the ordinary people of the country.
What Mr. President is doing is what's doing. We are solidly behind him.
Experts say as long as the operation of joint accounts by the state and local governments subsists, it will be pretty much difficult for the local governments to administratively make any meaningful impact on the grassroots. Another school of thought, however, believes that autonomy for local government will worsen corruption. Experts say a clearly defined structure of separation of power remains the gateway to development at the local government level, where development has been stunted over time. Can local governments raise revenue on their own and plow back effectively? What are the internal control measures to be put in place to ensure effective utilization of revenue generated? These are some of the questions begging for answers as Good Morning in Nigeria takes a look at local government IGR and development.
All right, that was Leah Katun Babatunde setting the background tone for our conversation. Leah Katun, thank you very much. Let's quickly introduce our guests for this discussion. I'll start off with the Honorable member in the House of Reps, and he's Honorable Anna Ayonnebe. He, of course, is the two-time Secretary of Oka South Local Government Area in Anambra State. He was also Speaker, Anambra State House of Assembly. That's between 2000 and 2011, and also a member of the Constitutional Conference. Honorable Nebe, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, my sister.
We also have with us Honorable Abdullahi Adamu Candido, and he is the Executive Chairman, Abuja Municipal Area Council. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians. My pleasure.
And Suberu Adagu, Honorable Suberu Adagu is a former Chairman, Okehi Local Government Council, and former Special Advisor to Kogi State Government. Honorable Adagu, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we also have guests at remote locations joining us now from our Kaduna Network Center. I would like to welcome Professor Adeja Odo. He is Professor of Local Government and Development Studies at Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. Professor Odo, it's our pleasure again that you are with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then from our Ibadan Network Center, we have with us Professor Mike Adeyeye. He's of Obafemi Awolowo University at Ile-Ife. Professor Adeyeye, a pleasure that, of course, you took the sacrifice of having to spend the night at Ibadan in order to be up and early to join us from our network studios there. Professor Adeyeye, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
So, gentlemen, once again, you're welcome to our conversation centers on local governments, IGR, and development. But let's kick off by getting an appreciation of what you think is the state of local government administration and performance, and of course, the development imperative as of today. Let's begin with Honorable Nembe.
Thank you, my brother. The truth of the matter is that the local government as of today is nothing to write about. There is actually nothing like local government administration. Local government administration in the past used to be very effective in terms of development, in terms of performance. Local governments in the past construct roads, drainages, markets, because they had access to their own revenue, source of revenue, their own share of revenue, both at from the national point and from internally generated revenue. But these days, almost all the local government areas operate as appendages of the state government, operate as extension harness of the governor's office, as liaison officers of the state governors. They do not have access to fund internally generated revenue. The internally generated revenue sources are being taken over by the state government. The federal allocation that is meant to a local government is being appropriated by the state government. So as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing like local government administration in Nigeria now. Just a ghost of itself.
All right, quickly, let's move on to Honorable Abdullahi Adamu Candido, who is, of course, the current executive chairman of Abuja Municipal Area Council. You want to give us your impression of what you think, is the correct assessment of, the rural areas and, of course, the council areas, in Abuja?
Good morning, Nigerians, once again. I think I may not totally agree with the distinguished member, principally because he may be likely talking from the angle of where he comes from.
Of course.
From the Federal Capital Territory where I operate, I think from 1999 to date, the area councils, which are also the same as local governments, I think have fared better, unlike other states of the Federation, simply because they have everything going for them as far as freedom of autonomy is concerned. A kobo from the Federation account that goes to the local government has never been tampered with. In particular reference to the government of today, that is under the present administration of the Minister for the Federal Capital Territory, not a single kobo has ever been diverted into any account. It always goes straight to the account of the area councils. And I think the IGR this is also something that has to do with the initiative of each area council.
In terms of development, in terms of availability of infrastructures, in terms of access, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, good. That is what I'm trying to point at. I said, in reference to what we made on ground the last 5 months or so, I think we've been able to, assess little funds in view of the recession that, is a global phenomenon today. But I think what is available has been channeled to the area councils, and in terms of meaningful development to the rural areas, we have been trying to see what we can do, in view of the fact that we cannot go beyond the limit of what comes to us as either monthly allocation or our internally generated revenue. So we are doing the best we can, and I think our rural areas can testify to what we have started.
Well, I was just wondering, Honorable Abdullahi Adamu Candido, you appear to be sketching a picture of El Dorado for the area councils in the FCT. According to you, since 1999, FCT area councils would appear to have fared better. There are 6 area councils in the FCT, by the way, better than their counterparts out of the remainder of 774. But is it necessarily the case that other than the capital city itself, you don't find brackish water, run-down infrastructure, if non-existent infrastructure in the area councils, where there's stark poverty as well?
I started by saying from 1999 because I happen to be part of the system. In 1999 till almost 2004, I was a councillor and also a supervisory councillor. And in between 2004-2006, I was a council secretary of the same area council. So I'm speaking from experience. That it all depends on the capacity of the person in power. Linking, development to the rural areas depends on the initiative of the person. If not, for what comes to the area council as either monthly allocation or internally generated revenue, the area councils in the MCT may not wish to complain because, of course, it comes to them directly and no alteration, nobody touches it. And as I said in specific terms, reference to the present administration, this government has never taken a kobo from the area council.
So presumably, some other governments in the past tampered with the funds.
Well, it could be possible. Possibly because maybe it all depends on the capacity of the person who is at the center, either as a minister who wishes to interfere. But for me, from what I know, it has never happened in the course of while I served. And now that I'm even serving as the chairman, we've not witnessed that. But of course, we can also give it to the fact that we don't have enough resources these days in view of the recession that we're all witnessing.
Just before we bring in the former Okehi local, chairman of Okehi Local Government Council, I'd like you to speak specifically to availability of infrastructures within the area councils. Drinking water, potable water, electricity supply, good roads, health centers. Are you telling us that within the area councils, people have greater access to these facilities?
No.
Are they readily available?
Not at all. Please exactly what I'm trying to say. I speak in specific terms as it concerns my own area council. I may not be able to speak for the other area council because I am not there. But for the area council that I belong, which is AMAC, don't forget AMAC is not just the city center. We have areas that, you know, can stretch up to 10, 15 kilometers away from the city center. Possibly certain areas may not have these facilities simply because of the inadequate resources at hand, or else there are good intentions. And like for me, I have initiated steps to link up rural areas to the city. I've also initiated steps to even provide electricity. And for now, it is what is holding us is just the resources. But fortunately, the resources are being tapped because we are working seriously on how to generate revenue so that we can complement the efforts of this statutory allocation.
Well, Honorable Candido, you are not being put on the spot, but we'll come back to you in the course of this conversation.
It's okay.
Because if you speak so glowingly of AMAC, then the question also arises as to what you guys are doing effectively about waste management in some parts of the metropolis or the municipal area. The subject matter we dealt with some weeks ago, you go to marketplaces, these are supposed to be part of your jurisdiction, and they're all like pigsties. But let's go over now to the former chairman of Okehi local government area in Kogi State, Honorable Abubakar Suberu Adago. You listen to Honorable Nembe himself. He'd also been in the local government system and intended to have painted a somewhat unflattering picture of local governments virtually nationwide, with a caveat entered a moment ago by the incumbent chairman of AMAC. What's your take on the state of local governments in terms of their functioning and impact?
Thank you, Nigerian. I think, first of all, I want to thank NTA for bringing up this program, oftentimes so that the players at various council level will be able to interact ideas with the public, especially on the funding and administration of local council area. I think in Nigeria we have 774 local government in Nigeria for now. If you take 5 council area of Federal Capital Territory out of it, then we'll be left with 700 and...
There are six area councils in the FCT.
But when you remove that 6 out of it, I can say categorically now that the remaining ones are practically non-functionals. Honestly, the reason being that if you look at Nigeria today, we have local governments now being run as appendages of state governments. And don't forget that even the way they handle their elections, in many states of the federation today, we have councils areas elections not held. They are just being nominated there. You know, the governors of every state just nominated their special advisors or whoever they wanted and made them caretaker chairmen, sole administrators. Some even call them SSA, whichever name you call them. So honestly, you look at it that if you look at the basic function of local government carved for them by the constitutions, they are not really doing it. So don't forget, just some years back now, Obasanjo said it, that we have 774, he called them a drain pipe in Nigeria. So essentially, I think I want to say that except if the government could really even look at the structure of the local government, look at it, if you could see that if you look at local government now, even states where they, apart from AMAC area, Abuja, Federal Capital Territory areas, other states, elections into local councils areas are being held by CIEC. Definitely, if you are not a crony of the governor of that state, you can never win any election in that state. So there is no competition in the first place. So it becomes difficult for anybody to attach any importance or think that any meaningful things can take place in those areas. With due regards to Federal Capital Territories that my chairman said they are really doing their best for now.
All right, thank you, former chairman of Okehi local government, Suberu Adago. Let's quickly get to Ibadan, where Professor Mike Adeyeye is. Prof, I know if you look back 10 years ago, or even much earlier, the stories we hear of local government areas is that of underperformance. We hear, of course, advocacies for empowerment to the local government areas and all that. Has the picture changed within the past 5 years or so?
Well, good morning. I think as much as I will not totally say that the local governments, as they are now, they've not done anything. And also, I will not totally agree with my honorable that the picture he has painted about El Dorado of the local government. The issue really is that there are challenges, probable challenges with our local government system in Nigeria. And there are also constraints that will not enable the councils to function as they should. And these constraints, some of them are fundamental, really, really fundamental. And then they deal with the constitutional provisions through which local government will function. And then as much as we want the local government to do what they should do, the objectives that the local government have been set up to perform, they've not been achieved. And in appraising the local government in the past 5 years or since the inception of this Fourth Republic, we've been able to see that, that there's frustration all over the place. I mean, with the people, the services are meant to be provided for the people. And it's the people that should assess the local government. I mean, we practitioners, we can say, well, we are doing what we are supposed to do. But within the constraints that we have, we've not been delivering what we should deliver. And this is the obvious facts all over the place. Although there are pockets of achievements in one local government or the other, I mean, and then some of the practitioners, they're also striving within the constraints to make sure that they deliver services to the people, but they are overwhelmed. And then the picture all over is that the local governments are not really doing well, generally. That's my submission.
All right, Professor Mike Adeyeye, thank you very much. We'll return to you in the course of this conversation. Just to cross over now to Kaduna, where we earlier introduced Professor Adejo Odo, is a professor at Ahmadu Bello University. Prof, you've listened to the other guests. Let me make a presumption that the current status of functioning of local governments in Nigeria should be a subject of intense research. And if so, what have your research findings unveiled?
Thank you very much. I've listened to the other presenters, and well, from a research perspective, we want to locate the lack of performance in two variables. One, that local governments are not democratically accountable, that is accountable to those who have elected the council, and they are not seriously financially accountable. Whether they are financially responsible is another thing. That's the first issue. The second issue is that local governments are supposed to be the babies of the state. The Constitution didn't mince words at all. In Section 7, it establishes that. So, if you are the state government and the local government is supposed to be your baby, it means it's your responsibility to mobilize resources to nurture that baby into a responsible government. Be that as it may, in operational terms, we have discovered from research that the joint account is being truncated. The constitutional provisions and the idea behind it have not been implemented seriously. If you look at local government budgets, that is the plan which they work with. In some local governments, 90% of their revenue goes into what they call recurrent expenditure. That means paying salaries and running their offices and responsibilities. So the remaining 10% cannot be mobilized for development purposes. And that's why you don't see development seriously at the local government level. So, two factors. One, the source of the fund is not guaranteed. because what is sent is not what is delivered. And two, that even from their planning systems, this will not work because a lot of the money is spent on what they refer to as recurrent expenditure as opposed to capital expenditure. As far as we are concerned, there are only few viable local governments in this country. And those local governments tend to be the ones in the urban areas, urban local governments. Like when you go to Lagos, where a lot of resources are present, properties, where they even care to implement the laws on internal revenue sources like television licenses and so on. So when we talk about revenue generation and translating this to services, what we are not getting is that, like my friend from AMAC says, that there is no problem with their own system. As far as our research is concerned, there is a problem at that level all through in Nigeria. There are 774 local governments. Even if you remove 74 urban local governments, the remaining 700 are decapitated and they are not useful. And something needs to be done. And something
Professor Adejo Odo, thank you very much again. Let us throw the ball to the court of the former chairman here. Let me start with you, Honorable Nebe. As a former chairman, what were sorry?
Secretary.
As a former secretary, sorry. Yes. What would you perceive as the constraints, to really carrying out the responsibilities at the local government level? Would you agree with Professor Adejo? He's talked about source of funds not being guaranteed. Or do you think it's, do we see any kind of mismanagement of funds or scarce of economic activities to generate the funds?
Thank you, my sister. The point should be made very clear. Usually people attribute the problem in local government as to mismanagement of fund. There should be fund before you mismanage. You cannot mismanage what is not available. The truth of the matter is that the local government have been denied, one, the internally generated revenue sources, two, the federal allocation under the guise of this joint state local government joint account. In most of the local government areas, most of the states, there may be states where their governors are very liberal-minded and the governor will say, whatever comes to the local government area in this month, federal allocation, let the local government have it. There may be states, like what my brother rightly pointed out, that the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, who operates as the governor of the area, that is so liberal-minded that he doesn't tamper with a kobo from the allocation. That is a very, very exceptional case. So the problem we have in the local government areas is that the money that is meant for the local government from federal account is being appropriated by the state governors under the guise of the state local government joint account. Money, every month you see the publication, 500 million naira to a local government. At the end of the day, what goes to that local government is less than 3 million. And that is meant for payment of salaries.
But that's just one of the sources of your
I'm coming. I said that is one. The internally generated revenue source is even being blocked by the state government. The local governments constitutionally are supposed to be in charge of market. They are supposed to be in charge of tenement trade. They are supposed to be in charge of so many other means or sources of revenue. As we speak now, almost all the local government area do not have right to collect tenement rate. They do not have right to collect market stores. So where do they have that internally generated revenue? State has taken over the federal allocation, has even taken over the internally generated revenue sources. So what we need to do is to ask the state government to face their responsibilities as state governments. Allow the local government to operate. If the state government could control the amount of money that is being allocated to state governments, if the federal government could control the amount of money that is allocated to federal government, What of the small amount of money that is being allocated to local government? Let the local government management be allowed to manage that fund. And if they misappropriate it, the law should take its stand.
All right, Honorable Nobe, thanks. Incidentally, Honorable Candido is also right here. What has been the experience of AMAC, for instance? Presumably we can extrapolate to the remainder of 5 area councils in the FCT with regard to your capacity to generate revenue internally without a great deal of hindrance from the supervising minister.
Thank you very much. I think I must be very fair to the speakers. Compared to other states, if you ask me to go become a chairman in a certain state, I will gladly appreciate and say thank you, and then refuse to serve in that capacity, believing in the fact that I will only be given a burden, and at the end of the day they may say he did not do anything. But in specific terms, I say in the Federal Capital Territory, people should get me very clear that what we are experiencing from the allocation of federal allocation, it comes to the area councils.
Sorry, you dealt with that in the first part of your response when we opened this conversation. We're now talking about the area councils on their own being able to generate their revenue.
Okay, good.
Yes, and whether you have constraints.
Yes,
do you have, let's put it this way, starkly, one of the points Honorable Nobe was talking about, and we know this, it happens at the state level.
Yes.
There we have all kinds of political assistants. These are usually thugs who are then made henchmen to be in charge of collecting rates and levies in marketplaces, and then local governments are forbidden from then collecting the same rates and levies in those same markets. Do you have that problem in the FCT?
In the Federal Capital Territory, and in particular Abuja Municipal Council, yes, we have some monumental challenges in this area of collection of revenue. One, possibly because of some bureaucratic bottlenecks, and 2, because of the past. Sometimes the political administration of the past administration were not too friendly to the area councils, allowing them free hand to justify the constitutional mandate given to the area council in the area of collection of revenue. Take, for instance, AMAC is the city council as a local government, isn't it? Now, we are mandated by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to manage, to build, and collect revenue in all markets. 3, we have the mandate constitutionally to collect tenements. It is not the making of the local government, it is the making of the Constitution, which is supreme. Everybody knows this. But certainly institutions in the past were not too friendly to the area council because it is possible they intimidated the past administration. They made it impossible for them to freely have a hand in the collection of these tenement rates. And therefore, that could also be attributed to, unfriendly aspect of a political leader who in the past was, not making it possible for the local government to operate. And that is exactly what we are passing through. Like in the area council today, which are inherited. We inherited a system where it is the local government that collect tenements. But because of possibly because of the way it is being enforced, because Nigeria, the way we conduct ourselves, it is hard, you hardly get, and Nigeria hardly pay their tenement rate or taxes as and when due until they are forced. Now, unfortunately, the bureaucratic bottlenecks came into, get that as a means to now tackle the local government. But what we are saying generally is that it is not supposed to be so. And that AMAC in this case, we are suffering too because we are being, unnecessarily disturbed in the area of, our constitutional mandate. And I think the Constitution should be protected, well promoted by the National Assembly, that they are the custodians of this law, and I think they should protect it so that other local governments across the Federation can freely have access to the collection of this tenement rate and other revenue sources. In AMAC, we have a little challenge, but I think we know the right.
How little is this challenge?
Yeah, the challenge.
Again, you've only talked about specifics.
Yes.
Let's get some specifics now.
One of it is that in the past, there was this MOU that local governments were forcefully intimidated to sign. Forcefully, they were forced to sign, believing that the tenement rate should be collected by what they call federal inland revenue service, which is not so. The constitution did not know anything like that. But because the local government are being monitored by the FCT administration of the then, they were forced. They were sort of intimidated.
At gunpoint.
Not necessarily at gunpoint, but of course at ministerial point. Okay, they were forced to make sure that they allowed this thing to be collected through that federal internal revenue source, so that they cannot be split across the 6 area council. The constitution did not guarantee that, and in the area council of Amak, we will continue to stand our ground that it is the constitutional responsibility of the area council to collect an rate, and that is the stand we are taking.
What of marketplaces?
Marketplaces is the same thing. Just like I said, certainly some bottlenecks are there, but I must be fair. I must be very, very fair to the present minister. He has never interfered in what we do. But you also know that he's just coming in and beginning to, understand the system. But what used to operate before, the local governments were not, faring better. Take, for instance, Wuse Market belongs to Abuja Municipal Council. It's supposed to be managed. It was even managed for over 20-something years by the same local government. But in the last 10 years or so, it was taken over from the local governments. Now that is an unnecessary interference. Local governments all over the world are supposed to manage, build, and collect revenue from markets.
In Nigeria, we don't know what it is.
Okay, in Nigeria, for instance. Okay, in Nigeria. But in the FCT here, there are certainly markets that are supposedly to be managed by the local government, but they have a name now. They have a name under the MFCT administration. Constitutionally, we're supposed to frown at that.
What is the name that is who manages Garkim International Market?
Good.
Who manages Utako Market? There's another one that caused some
Utako Market is managed by Abuja Municipal Council. Garkim Market and certainly Wuse Market that I just mentioned, Uye Market are all managed by what they call Abuja Market Investment something. Sincerely, that is not supposed to be.
Okay, let's pause you for now. Let's bring in Subiru Adagu, who is also former chairman of Okehi local government. What was the experience during your time? What was the practice? Did you also, have any form of interference in your capacity to generate funds?
Well, I think while I serve as a council chairman, the governor then, Alhaji Ibrahim Idris of Kogi State, he didn't interfere into our activities to some extent. Because if you look at Kogi State then, that was why some of us that served between 2008 to 2011 will have some projects, projects that touch the lives of our communities in those areas. But, Kogi State is a small state. Of course, we don't have a good market where we could generate enough of this IGR. But I think to some extent, some of us, especially Okehi local government where I served then, we have try to put in bylaws into the area so that we can generate a lot of revenues, collecting of small rates from all these taxi park rates and all those levies. But I think the problem we have then was that these levies just constitute a very small, negligible amount of our source of income. So that if you look at it, we still depend more on the federal allocation inflows for us to be able to do anything. But I think one problem we have is that, if you look at Abuja, you have good markets around here. I think what Amak chairman is just saying, there has been a lot of interference, especially on markets that the state government knows that is very lucrative. For instance, we have one in the Kenya then, just like what he said, we have it too there. Those markets that are very viable, you see that the state governors will always try to put up a kind of management organization or another institutions that will take charge of the running and then the collection of levies from those areas. So I think what we really need is to have enabling enactments, maybe in our constitutions again. That's why the National Assembly, they need to sit down to look at it critically. If you see this government, local council area, they are the most closest government to the local people. If you see in some states, in some council area, you will discover that you will not even see the presence of a state government for 4 years. But in that area, the local government could provide the gap by linking the people to, to know what is happening in government. So I think they need to work more. Let the council areas know their scope. Which area should they really collect revenues? Where do they need to put in more money and generate more revenue? That's in our constitution for now. I think the constitution that put the council area as appendages of the states really make it difficult for any local government chairman to try to do anything beyond his scope.
All right, Honorable Adagu, thank you very much there for your reaction. Now, we still have the two professors, one at Ibadan and then the other at Kaduna Network Center. So, gentlemen, please pay attention to this point because I would like you both to address this. But beginning first with Professor Adejo Odo. When we're talking about IGR, actually we're discussing this in the context of a budgeting process. Your IGR, of course, is supposed to be part of your revenue stream to enable you fulfill or carry out your budgetary intentions for a given year. From your findings, from your research, do you find sufficient capacity in the budgeting process at the local government level, or you just find persons who are just looking for money anytime money comes? It goes whether from the federation accounts or whether from supplementation by state governments as well as IGR. Do you have enough institutional as well as human capacity to manage the budgetary process at the local government level? Professor Odo.
Well, that's a very critical question because it's central to a development. The situation is that you have people we call planners in local government, you have budget officers, you have a finance department, and they follow the budgeting process, even though it's always actually incremental in nature. Their processes are guided by call circulars from the state, and then sometimes the state define the areas the budget is to address. That's the first issue. The second issue is about their qualification and commitment. In terms of qualification, they are fairly well trained, but budgeting and so on is based on data. The extent to which they collect this data is a little bit questionable because budget that is not supported by data may not be much in tune with development. The third issue here is that even though local governments budget, the executive of the local government is supposed to throw its weight around the budget. And that's where the issue of revenue comes in terms of strategy. Their budget is actually based on what happened the previous year. Can we improve on it and so on? But their budget is predicated on the amount of money expected to come to the state joint local government account, which is supposed to be disbursed to them. Since these monies don't come, the budget will just end up in like a smoke screen because it is not effectively backed up. But one other issue is that the question is, must we continue to depend on one way of getting relief from the state? Can we do anything with our communities? Because if the money is not coming from the top, the communities too have their own potentials to support development activities. And this is the area we are very interested in. When donors come, they are also interested in these areas. How do we tap community resources and capabilities to bring about development in view of the dwindling resources? It's a two-way affair. The money is not coming from top. The masses are there, the communities are there, they have their own resources, they have their own aspirations and so on. Can we make use of what exists there? Can we mobilize the communities? Can we get external support from donors and so on? Because donors are always willing to come in to support. In fact, the aim of donors is to come in to fill the gap where government is not operating well. So to round up what I'm saying, yes, it's good to expect the fund from the joint account, but it's also good to tap community resources, which you can support with little fund and bring about the same development. And there are opportunities and options for you. If government doesn't come, you can depend on communities, you can depend on donors. But we are not going to surrender this to government, because as far as I'm concerned, the state government must be held responsible for the performance of local government. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ado. Let's again go over to Professor Mike Adeyeye in Ibadan. Prof, how does the process, that by which local government chairman and indeed the executive at that tier of government come into power affect their capacity to, carry out the responsibilities, provided for them in the Constitution, which is, of course, one of them, which is generation of revenues through construction of markets and shops and all that?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, there are fundamental constraints that affect the local governments in actually putting all these things in place. The first thing we should note is that the Constitution says that we should have a democratically elected local government council, and that is one. All over Nigeria now, in many states, elections have not been conducted. So what we have there are council managers and then sole administrators, and these are not people that the people can relate with, and that is the first thing we should note. And then if you don't have people that people should relate with, there's a gap between the people and those in government. And then for people in government now to now go to the people to say, look, pay your tax, we want to generate money and things like that, there's mistrust between the two classes. And another thing is that it should be taxed with responsibility. Even if you are trying to generate money from the people, they should pay their tax and so on and so forth. What we have paid, what are the services that you have provided for us? There are no services. So that mistrust between the people and those in government is there. And then the people in government also, at the local government level, some of them don't have the moral right to tell the people to pay their tax and to contribute to the development of their local government. It's a big issue there. Another issue is that, look, we've relied too much on the federation account. And in Nigeria now, with the research conducted, 75% of the local governments that we have in Nigeria won't be able to run their council without the money coming from the federation account. And that's too bad. What they generate internally is even not enough to pay their salaries of their workers. And that's a big issue. And then another issue is that as the local government, they rely on the federation account allocation. The state also, they rely on it, and also the federal government. So people are now saying, look, with what we have now, there's a lot of politics going on about the fiscal relation, about intergovernmental fiscal relations. And then in our federal system that we practice, so to say, fiscal relations is always a big issue everywhere in the whole world. And that is why we need to get to really sit down and debate it. And that's the issue with the JAG. If 75%, more than 75% of the money to run the councils coming from federation account, so there's a big issue with the JAG, with the state joint local government account. And that is why the state governments are desperate to make sure that they manipulate that committee to suit what they are going to do. And the local governments, they are desperate to say, look, let's have our fair share of what comes in from the federation account. So those are two big issues that confront the local government. And then about generating money, about internally generated revenue. I mean, the capacity of the local government at times to monitor and then get people to pay their tax, it is a difficult one. Because as they don't have the moral right, so also they don't have the capacity to enforce that the people at the local government level should pay their taxes. So that's the one we should also look at. Then there's this thing about the section 7.1 of the Constitution of Nigeria. That section of the Constitution, we really need to look at it. That section of the Constitution has given the state governments the leeway to interpret that section the way they like and the way that will suit what they are going to do. But the bottom line is what we do, what governments all over the world do is to provide services for the people. And if government officials start to fight among themselves about we should get the large chunk of the money from federation account, it's not really good for our federal system. And then that's the more reason why we should look at that section of the Constitution that gives the state government the absolute power to do whatever they like with the local government system. I want to submit that way.
Rakisla, sorry, I know you want to go over to Professor Addo, but why I asked that question, is because people believe that local government chairmen are appointees of, state executives, and so most times they don't have the guts, to take action when they are being modeled, by their chief executives. So I'm wondering if that is reformed, will they have the capacity to be able to, carry out their functions?
Well, Claire, that's an important point. We'll pursue that in the subsequent part of this conversation, just to indicate also that we have reactions already from our viewers who have taken advantage of the Twitter handle at NTA GMA. But just before we leave the question of budget, I would like to return, as Claire earlier mentioned, to Professor Adejo Odo at our Kaduna Network Center. At the national level, and Honorable Nembe himself is here, and we are all witnesses to this, we follow with a great deal of interest debates in the National Assembly with regard to any particular year's appropriation, that's to say the budget. But at the local government level, 774 of them, I'm myself to find out when last time we had any great debates about the budget of any particular local government area. Are we, as a people, missing out on that? Or is it that we just allow the elected or appointed caretaker men or the henchmen of state governors who've been nominated into those positions to just play around with figures and then they start raiding marketplaces for levies and taxes?
That's a critical question because irrespective of the system, military, civilian, local government administration is supposed to be open. If the president can announce his budget to the whole of Nigeria and the state governments do so, the local governments too should be doing so. Well, is it that they are doing it and there is no media coverage? That's another critical question. In most cases, we've discovered that they don't do it. And that raises the issue of accountability at the local government level. Local government ought to be politically accountable. And one way of doing that is to communicate their budget in terms of getting a cross-section of community members and groups together to announce to them the budget for the following year, and very importantly, to ensure that the consumers of the budget know the role they are going to play in the budget. It's like saying, this is where we want to be at the end of this budget year. This is the role and responsibility of government, but these are the roles and responsibilities of community groups and so on. That is the basis of mobilization. And we have not been doing it. We have been missing out on it. Perhaps they are not motivated to do it because even if they do it, the funds will not be available. So it will be like an entrapment to do it. But as best practice deserves, this is the way to go about it. People need to be informed. In fact, by the time they do it, there will be no skeletons in their cupboard. And They will be transparent in their administration, and people will begin to understand why certain things are not happening the way they should. And we're urging them to do so.
All right, Professor Adejo Odo, thank you very much for your response to Kingsley's questions. We'll be back again with, of course, more questions. We have tweets coming in, and we'll take them as soon as we get back from this break.
Who are you, and what is your predicament?
Please, I'm looking for Candy. Who is living here? In this compound?
Oh no, this is a premises. The compound is an amalgam of chemicals, and there is no Candy living in this premises.
This week on your award-winning comedy series, Professor John Bull, starring Kanayo Okanayo, Mercy Johnson, Queen Wokoye, Funky Malam, Bimbo Akintola, Ime Bishop, Yomi Fash Lanso, MC for God.
Who was you? What was you found?
Actually, look at you. I going to look for my sister. I know you are
here. And he was found the place. Call me. Okay?
Say somebody.
She's definitely not my sister. Shut up!
Professor John Bull, fasten your seatbelts this Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. on NTA Network, International, and Star Times. It's absolutely bombastic.
Over and out. The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
Today, Ariel will show you how to save more in these tough times.
Why this powder?
It's pretty good and
but Ariel gives better cleaning with less powder.
Impossible.
Come with me.
Spaghetti sauce, chocolate drink.
For these tough stains, I'll need 1, 2.
And just 1 handful of Ariel. New Ariel gives better stain removal with less powder.
That's real savings. Ariel removes tough stains better in 1 wash.
We intend to radically change Newman Street. My company has a track record of converting slums into new cities. Many years of experience has taught us to fish out allies within the communities we want to transform.
Don't listen to your husband. Listen to me. Give me a boy. And the two of you may never even have to work again.
Sharp guy, how are you? What's your name? Akpos. America. Oh, Akpos, America.
Yeah, wow. Love you too.
Wonderful wonder. Wonderful wonder.
With an increasingly volatile economy, there has never been a more fitting time to own your space and carve out new opportunities. Join over 1,000 women at the 15th Women in Management, Business and Public Service WIMBIZ Annual Conference as we discuss the next frontier, new landscape, new possibilities. Topics include Beyond Parity, inspiring the next generation of female leaders, women in mining, unlocking the Nigerian mining opportunities, and the billion naira tourism industry, monetizing the beauty within, among other topics. Date is Thursday the 3rd and Friday the 4th of November 2016. And the venue, Echo Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos. It starts at 8 a.m. prompt daily. To register, visit www.wimbizannualconference.com or call 0803-594-6249. WIMBIZ, 15 years of inspiring and empowering women.
All right, you're welcome back. And it's still Good Boy Nigeria. We have reactions already from our viewers. As we indicated, we are taking those tweets right away. Sunday Michael Amakoju tweets, most chairmen at the local government areas are imposed on rural dwellers. No election, rather it is by appointment. How can they do well?
All right, I have Sunday Michael Amakoju tweets, first thing first, grant local governments full autonomy, then put them on their toes to raise revenues and ensure development at all local levels.
And then we have this from Jamil Sadara, tweets, Agri Department of LGAs can venture into mechanized farming and at least feed their populace and at the same time generate revenue.
And Suleiman Yahya tweets, Honorable Chairman Amak, collecting money for numbering of houses in Amak layout, Lugbe, without roads and drainages, Is that doing something?
And we have this from Ishaha Abdul. Ishaha Abdul tweets, local governments in Nigeria is as good as dead and a non-existent tier of government. The National Assembly should pass a law prohibiting appointment of caretaker committees.
All right, and Jetta tweets, local government administration in Nigeria today is a sad story. We need to return local government autonomy and remove the control of governors.
All right, so those are the ones we're taking very briefly. Let's return. The chair of AMAC is right here with us. You listen to the views expressed by the two professors and then the other at Ibadan Network Center. With regard, in terms of budgeting, do we have a clear understanding of what is supposed to be achieved year on year to say these are our budgetary goals, these are our streams of income, and these are our metrics to realizing that, and then getting the people to be involved as we find at the national level?
Good. Budget is a fundamental factor as far as expenditure and whatever you want to provide as a service to the people is concerned. We came in May, precisely on the 20th. It was coined by the last administration. And looking at our own policies and programs, we had to, further review it, make amend, and then see how we can work, because government is continuum. So we had to look at that budget and then start from where whatever we made on ground and review the budget to suit our purpose. But as I speak with you right now, believing in the fact that budget is so fundamental as far as governance is concerned, we have already commenced retreating for the 2017 budget. And in this case, all our honorable councillors, because they come from various localities, they've got to go back to their localities to get the views from the populace there. What is it exactly that they want? It is possible that I want to give you water. Possibly it is not water that you want. So we have to key into the people, link the people to the budget so that we exactly know what we are doing. And that is what we are starting today as I speak with you. The moment I leave here, I'm moving straight to the venue of our 2017 budget, because we want to have the budget as early as possible so that we can commence program and then get a target of what we want to achieve for the people.
Well, Honorable, you already disclosed in the course of this conversation that you have been, as it were, an insider. You've been a supervisory councillor. What was your experience at that time?
Yes, of course. While I served as a supervisory councillor, it was not a legislative system per se. It was an elected chairman with a parliamentary kind of a system. But when I came in as a secretary, it was a full-fledged democratic governance, and we had legislative arms. So I was privileged to also have that experience. But now that I came in as a chairman, you see, the experience I've gathered from time is helping me to put the proper thing that is supposed to be done for the area council. And believe you me, the budget of a thing is helping me, because if you don't bring in the people to tell you what they want, you may likely be mistaken in the discharge of whatever you want to provide for them. And that is exactly what I think the budget is so fundamental, that every local government have to allow the people to make input into the budget of whatever year they want to, operate.
Okay, Honorable Candidate, thank you. Let's quickly bring in Honorable Nembe. Honorable Nembe, quickly, because we don't have much time. How do you think that the local government areas, can take back their right to function as a third tier of government, with specific reference to, the subject matter we're discussing now?
Thank you. I think the most important thing is legislation. There should be legislation making it very clear that government at the local government level is autonomous. It's different from that of the state. It's not an appendage of the states. That implies reinforcing the autonomy of local government by legislation, by the National Assembly. I can correctly tell you that from all indications, the National Assembly is poised to make that amendment very soon. So once that is done, is autonomous. Once local government operates as a third tier of government, which implies that democratically elected government, when there is democratically elected government at the center, at the state, there should be at local government areas. When there is none, it's a general thing. If it's a military system, that's the deal. But if it's a democratically elected, and once we say democratically elected, the chairman and the councillor should be elected,
okay,
not appointed.
Okay, we'll thank you for that because we don't have time. In fact, we've run out of time. And just the last word from Mr. Adagu. Do you agree with Honorable Nembe? Quickly, please.
Yes, I agree with him, but with just a little caveat. Apart from granting autonomy to local council area, this system of having a CIEC conducting elections at some local council area does not really help matters. Now, that if it's a decree, I don't know what it is, if it's in our constitution, it should also be repealed. Let INEC be conducting election at various local governments. That will bring fair competitions. And by then you see that good people now come. If you look at what is happening in other council area now, the people you see that are sole administrators, are caretaker chairmen, they are thugs belonging to the governors. So I think apart from having autonomy, INEC should also be conducting elections into our various local governments. So you will see that every other political parties will participate. By then, credible people will come up and seek to become the chairman of their various local government. Now, what we have now, my sister, honestly, right, even if they bring 2 billion to some local government, it will not function.
Honorable Suberu Adagu, former chairman, Okehi Local Government Council, and former special advisor to Kogi State Government, thank you very much for your perspective. All right.
All right. Let's go over to Ibadan. Ibadan, Professor Adeye, very briefly. Very briefly, we understand, I mean, from what we are saying, there's quite clearly some challenge that state governments represent to the operations of local governments. Is it going to be a futile battle seeking to, as it were, overturn the entrenched interests of state governments in the operation of local councils? Very briefly.
Aspect of the Constitution. And then so that we really all need to sit down. Stakeholders need to sit down. Possibly we have a national conference on the local government system because it's germane to development in this country. Until we all sit down seriously to say, look, this is the kind of local government system that we want. We'll just be running around doing nothing. So I think it's important. It's important, and we also need to consider intergovernmental relations. Even when we are talking about autonomy, governments still need to relate for national development. And then we need to also start to respect our laws, to sanction people that run foul of our laws. So that's just my submission there.
All right, Professor Mike Adeye of Obafemi Awolowo University at Ile-Ife, would like to thank you for being part of our discussion this morning. Adejo Odo, Professor Adejo Odo of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. You joined us from our Kaduna studios. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you.
And also with us here in the Abuja studios, Honorable Nembe, Anayo Nembe, member of the House of Representatives and former Secretary, Oka South Local Government Area in Anambra State. We'd like to thank you for your contributions.
Thank you.
As well as the incumbent chair of the Abuja Municipal Area Council. He has only Wuse Market, or one of that small market, or that Honorable Abdullahi Adamu Candido, thanks a lot for your contribution.
Thank you, Nigerian. Thank you, NTA.
All right, let's go now to sports, and here's our desk with details of what's going on in the world of soccer and tennis.
Arsenal ladies forward Aziza Dushola has claimed that the Super Falcons are not under any pressure to win a 10th African Women's Cup of Nations title as the 2016 edition kicks off in Cameroon in November. The Super Falcons won a record 9th title in Namibia in 2014, the year the Nigerian star Aziza Dushola was named the 10th Women African Cup of Nations finals hold from 19th November to 3rd December in Cameroon. Nigeria will play Ghana, Kenya and Mali in Group B. And straight to tennis, Britain's Andrew Murray defeated France Gilles Simon for the 16th time on Thursday to reach the Vienna ATP quarter-finals and keeps alive his bid to snatch Novak Djokovic's world #1 ranking.
Murray extends his ATP World Tour winning streak to 12 matches.
Andrew Murray, the 2014 champion in Vienna, goes on to face John Isner on Friday for a place in the semi-finals. The defending champion David Ferrer, the Spanish 5th seed, also made the quarter-finals by seeing off Portugal's Joao Sousa 6-2, 7-6, 7-4. And in Singapore, Germany's Angelique Kerber continued her unbeaten run at the WTA finals on Thursday as she defeated American Madison Keys 6-3, 6-3 to charge into the semi-finals of the season-ending championship.
And let's quickly join Oyeyemi Ajayi on the foreign scene.
Belgium has announced a breakthrough in talks to secure a landmark EU-Canada trade deal by winning over the leaders of a recalcitrant Belgian region, potentially snapping a deadlock which threatened European credibility anew. Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel said the agreement was reached after marathon talks to win over holdouts in Belgium's French-speaking community. Confirmation of the intra-Belgian agreement came swiftly from the head of government of the southern French-speaking Wallonia region and the leading holdouts to the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement (CETA).
All right, thank you very much, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for the foreign package. Now, here is Ngozi Chude with arts and entertainment.
At the mention of your name, darkness has to flee. At the calling of your name, every knee must bow.
This is Uchechukwu Anna Chinwe's way of proclaiming the goodness and greatness of God. Through the years, she says singing has been her second nature, and so with this passion, she started out professionally over 10 years ago. With the release of her first album, Glory, in 2011, her second in 2014, and her third effort, which is titled Awesome God, Chinwe asserts it can only be by God's grace. She says the album is inspired by the beautiful things God has done in her life.
Awesome God, you are doing wonders in this place. You made it up to here. You said the captives free. The song just came by looking at the things God did, imagining the good work of God. And after that, when I considered the good things, as in the beautiful things he did, I said he's awesome. Showed us your mercy. Awesome God, you are.
For Chinwe, the message is simple and direct. In this economic situation, Nigerians should hold on to God.
I just want the whole world to hear about the awesomeness of God. Understand? It does not matter how bad your past has been. When you come to this awesome God, he makes your life beautiful. Awesome God, awesome God.
In Nigeria, there is no doubt that gospel music is waxing stronger. But many practitioners like Chinwe believe purpose-driven cause should be the anchor for transforming lives.
All right, and the weather forecast for the rest of today is next.
And welcome. Let's have a quick look at the weather prospects for Friday. The southeast coast would likely experience some isolated morning rains, then cloudiness to the southwest coast and the inland cities. Over the central states, we anticipate partly cloudy conditions. The extreme north would be in dust haze, though in moderate visibility for the day. And in the afternoon, we expect some changes weather-wise over the central region as sunny conditions are expected, though with some form of haziness. While over the south, localized thunderstorms are anticipated. From the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, I am Imara Joyce Nchom. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Imara Joyce Nchom, for the weather report. And while we look for other ways of shoring up the economy, let's also not relent in our prayers. For awesome God will bring us a change. I am Claire Delabo Abdurrazak. Have a pleasant weekend.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join Claire in thanking you for starting your day with us and wish you the very best of the weekend. And remember that Good Morning Nigeria is back on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the Star Times platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
Gas pipelines are the arteries for powering electricity. When the artery is burst, then the entire system collapses. Vandalizing gas pipelines is a criminal offense against the Nigerian people. Let us join hands and protect our gas pipelines from the enemies of Nigeria. Report any suspected vandal to the security operatives. Let us stop vandals before they destroy our collective national heritage, so we can have the Nigeria of our dreams, where there will be light at all times. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
NTA Language.
Jama'a masu kallon labaran NTA Hausa barkanmu da warhaka. Ni ne
Ekukale lo da yin wise kudedeya.
Igbo murum kachano.
Broadcasted in the language you understand better. Our programs. Transmitting on the Star Times platform 24 hours.
Àwọn onímọ̀ nípa ètò ẹ̀kọ́ lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà
hukumar tara kudaden haraji ta ƙasa.
Alanye na ọchịchị mba United Arab Emirates UAE.
The only channel that speaks your language.
Anyị ga-eweta akụkọ gbasara ọrịa ahụ nke wakporo obodo anyị.
Kálejì, mo kọ́kùnrin, mo kọ́bìnrin, mo kí ọmọdé, mo sì kí àgbàlagbà.
Mu ci gaba da yi ma rundunar sojin ƙasar nan addu'a.
Ẹ kú lẹ́yìn tèmi, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò wa ètò yín ètò obìnrin tó dángájá.
Waye fi cancanta a ɗauka a matsayin ɗan aikin cikin gida.
Jama'a
masu kallon tashar NTA Hausa, barkamu da warhaka.
Kí ni ayẹyẹ ọdún iléyá tá máa ń ṣe lọ́dọọdún yìí rọ̀ mọ́?
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
These days, life seems to be survival of the fittest.
And truthfully, we have heard unpleasant stories of some taking the easy way out.
However, for us here, we constantly remind ourselves of the story of Albert Einstein, Michael Jordan, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, and our own Wole Soyinka.
So, give yourself a chance to discover what you can do. This is Click Light. My name is Gufan Shaji.
And I am Ngozi Chude. Thank you for joining us on another interesting edition of the program that explores everything on entertainment.
From music to movies and a birthday celebration that took place recently.
And also not forgetting our very special guests. And so right now, let's start with the entertainment news.
Top Kannywood actress Ruhama Sadao, who was expelled from Kannywood for appearing in a music video by Classic that seemed inappropriate based on the standards of Kannywood, has been consoled as a cast on a new TV show called Sons of the Caliphate, produced by Mo Abudu's Ebony Live TV. It is even greater news for the actress as she will be visiting Hollywood soon by the invitation of Akon and Nollywood movie producer Jetta Amata.
OT, OT, there's never much love, we go OT. I pray to make it back in one piece. I pray, I pray.
One of the world's leading music streaming site has announced that Drake's massive 2016 hit song, One Dance, featuring Nigeria's Wizkid and Kyla, is now the most streamed song on its site ever with 880 million streams since its premiere in April 2016. One Dance takes over Major Laser's Lean On with 875 million streams.
Tired of us up a silence. You know you gotta stick by me. Soon as you get a text, reply me. I don't wanna spend time fighting. Is your tears and dry your eyes.
During Beyonce's performance at the TDLX show in Brooklyn recently, the superstar's gorgeous male long braid appeared to catch on one of her earrings, ripping it straight out and causing her ear to bleed. Rather than panic, however, Queen Bee didn't even flinch. After subtly running a finger over her ear to confirm the bleeding while singing Hunted, Bey continued whipping her hair back and forth without a care in the world because she's Beyonce and it's going to take a lot more than a little blood to keep her from doing what she does best. You know, Queen Bee never stops to amaze me, her vigor, her energy. You know, I think she reminds me of me.
Okay, instead of coming back to let's go back to Green Bay again.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
She rules the world, and that's what we do, the woman power, and that's what we represent. And she is actually representing us well.
Yeah.
You know, she did that so gracefully, and that's showmanship. That's what I call showmanship.
Yeah.
And I think all artists, Nigerian artists, should also learn, you know, from people like that.
Exactly.
And when you think about, you know, coming from something pleasant. Or rather unpleasant now.
To something pleasant.
To something pleasant. The Rahama Sadao was just spared a few weeks ago from Kannywood, and surprisingly,
she's now on a TV show.
And also being invited to Hollywood. I think that's a big one.
That's
for
a
her.
big one for her.
And congratulations are in order actually. But to think that Ali Nuhu was actually saying they were not being fair. Exactly. I think that's not so good at all. But well, the trend about this Nollywood artist, you can never tell. And now talking about trend these days is getting the light skin color. But for one Senegalese model, she is definitely black, bold, and beautiful.
So let's find out who she is and the craze for the light skin.
Few years ago, Cameroonian pop singer dancer set the internet ablaze when she uploaded before and after pictures of herself looking transformed from a dark skin color to a completely fair-skinned woman. She revealed that the secret was a product called Whitenicious. Within 24 hours of the launch of this new skin care line, the product had gained attention, selling reportedly over 20,000 units after 3 weeks. Critics pounced on her, accusing her of not only promoting skin lightening, but self-hatred among women of color and more specifically African women. The popularity was not far-fetched, as observation revealed that of recent many women in Africa, Europe and Asia, including men, were bleaching their skin to get more attention. Now the trend has caught up with a lot of people. In fact, some Nigerian celebrities have altered their complexion from dark to light-skinned to get more roles and look more classy. Another revelation is that people on the media platforms also Photoshop pictures in order to look more appealing and acceptable. Why this tilt towards being light-skinned?
It's a psychological problem. You know, for example, you see a friend looking good. Maybe luckily she got a very handsome rich man. Then you, is it because I'm dark? Or is it because I'm not looking so attractive? Is that why men are not coming to me? So people have different reasons, but some just want to do it maybe for the nature of their job, or for me to have a good job, I have to look good, you know.
I've even had an experience of parents who lighten their baby skins, and you wouldn't believe it, use different things to try to, they say that is the color the baby is supposed to be.
Much as this is becoming the norm, experts warn against this due to its adverse effects.
The skin is the largest organ, and when you put these harmful chemicals on your body, it now gets into the system, destroying the end organs, notably the kidney and the central nervous system, causing all sorts of problems, starting from tingling sensation, memory loss, irritability, psychiatric disorders, insomnia.
Interestingly, as they say in the local parlance, one man's meat is another man's poison. For this Senegalese-born model, Ndeye Kudia Diop, promoting African culture with her beauty and black skin is the ultimate. In celebration of what she represents and her amazing skin, she calls herself Milani Goddess. With this unique physical attribute, she combines a great sense of fashion, setting her apart. For critics and those in her world, she exemplifies and defines the essence of beauty. Through this, she has inspired others who are not comfortable in their God-given natural skin, especially those who have resorted to bleaching the skin for perceived acceptance. The fashion world and beauty enthusiasts took notice of this young Senegalese model who rose to fame on the internet. A self-accepting and confident attitude towards her skin color drew the attention, and since then she has received an overwhelming positive response, especially on Instagram, where she posts pictures of herself. The Melanin Goddess was featured recently in the Colored Girl campaign and in a deliberate manner put to rest the claim that light-skinned girls are more attractive than dark-skinned colored girls. Another interesting personality who has no apologies for her dark-skin color is award-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o. She exudes confidence and pride as she flaunts her color with amazing dresses that highlights her skin. Indeed, these two women and numerous others are determined not to be relegated because of the color of their skin. After all, it is a known fact that black is beautiful.
It's still clicking like people. A break beckons. When we return, it's an amazing 60th birthday of this wonderful woman. Don't go anywhere.
He's young, talented, and has the word to conquer. Let's meet him.
Born in Lagos on the 19th of September 2003 to the family of Tanko Sabo Lengaya, this young lad hails from Wukari local government area of Taraba State, Nigeria. He started his early music days by actively participating in various church singing activities and expressed high interest and talent in music. King Rex, who is coming up strong to claim his place in the music industry, has released his first track, I'm Proud of Niger, as he sings about the need for Nigerians to be united and be patriotic.
Make we stop to criticize Nigeria. This one go say this, that one go say that. Nigeria no good, Yaradua no try, Jonathan no good, Buhari too bad. Who go come to change Nigeria?
Has done an amazing work talking about Nigeria, and he's our guest today. Let's meet him.
My name is Nelson Lengaya. I go by the stage name of King Rex, and also I'm from Taraba State, Wukari local government. I was born and brought up in Lagos State, Festac Town. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so do you speak Yoruba? This one that you're brought up in Lagos?
No, I didn't stay there for.
So what do you speak? English, and what other dialect do you speak?
English, a little bit of Hausa,
okay, and
my tribe Jukum.
So if I want to say I care about you in Jukum, how do you get to say that?
I care about you.
Yeah.
Natural Jew. Natural Jew.
Natural Jew.
Yes, natural Jew.
It actually sounds as if it's Chinese. But Jukum, that we actually share boundaries because I'm from Benue State. So
yes.
So natural Jew.
Natural Jew.
Natural Jew.
Yes.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, talking about your video, talking about what you've done out there,
yes,
your work. What inspired you, basically?
Actually, you know about a lot of songs which people keep on saying wrong things about the nation where they were born in. And you see, it's not encouraging to the future generation because, one, what type of example are you putting up to them? Is it that they should just follow in your footsteps and keep on insulting the government, keep on just doing what is wrong? You're not supposed to be that. You're supposed to be patriotic to your nation. But instead, people just keep on seeing the bad part of Nigeria, while there's a lot of good things that Nigeria has. No one is trying to look into that. So I wrote that song to make sure that people know about the good parts of Nigeria.
Wow. How far do you intend to push that song?
I want the whole, if possible, Africa to hear the song, because it's not only Nigerians who do that to their country. Other countries too have people like that. So if they can listen to what I did for our nation, they will be able to also know that their own nation too has a good part.
Okay, what did it take for you to make the video? Can you tell us a little about what it took? Is this your first?
Yes, this is my first actual video, and it was very amazing because I had lots of new experiences. Like it took us about 3 days to do just, let me say, about 4 scenes part of the video. So it's, let me just say, we were progressing a lot, and thank God we were able to finish the video. I'm very happy.
Okay, you're in school?
I school at Galilee College, located at Kurudu, and
that's advertising your school. I would have to ask you to pay for that. I just wanted to know which class you are in.
Okay, I'm in SS1.
Okay.
And I'm a science student in Klein.
Science and music. How do you marry that? What time do you have to, write the songs and then go back to your books? How do you manage that?
Actually, it's kind of easy if you understand what you're doing, because science and my music, they're not pretty much that different. You can also teach through music, like the song, for instance, Niger. I'm teaching others who don't know. So they're pretty much not that different, but all I need now is just time and practice, so there's no much problem.
Okay, at what age did you start singing?
According to my parents, I started singing at the age of 5. That's immediately I started speaking. Some years later, I just started singing, and it's a talent I got from my grandmother, who our whole family, everyone sings, and that's tribal music. So according to the family history, I'm the first person to do foreign and English music.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. But do you also know how to sing in your dialect?
Yeah, a little bit from my grandmother.
Okay, let me hear what you know from your grandma.
Okay, this is one of her songs about the crisis, you can remember. Is it 2013? I've forgotten, when they had crisis in our village, Bukari.
Yeah.
So
that's in Taraba State.
Yes. So she sang the song. That's the bad people. They have lived among us for years, but now they've forgotten about our friendship and they are trying to kill us for what belongs to us. So she sang it toward that time which we had that crisis, but by the grace of God, now everything is okay.
Oh, that's really interesting. But you just sang only one line. I'd like to hear you sing that song again. Maybe you should just do like 2 lines for me from the song.
Bejiji beji zera o benefu sogo nyabenyaki. Ajita wudu batu kwa nefu sogo nyabenyaki. I'm not that good with it.
But you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And then on the your video, talking about Nigeria.
Yes.
What do you have to say to other young people out there who don't have a platform but have a dream and have a passion for music? What do you have to say to them?
That they should keep on striving, that God will make a way. If not because of God, where will I be today? I might never be even born. So it's all God. You won a race from birth, between life and death. So what will make you not survive through this world? So just keep on striving, believe in your dreams, and use the talents that God has given you wisely. Some people misuse their talents, so they should use it wisely.
Are you working on another video? Are you working on something else?
Yeah, I'm working on a video with Classic, a Hausa rapper. That was one of the first few artists that I really look up to. Okay. So I did music with him, Party For Me, and we'll soon be doing the video and we'll release it.
Okay, can you do a little thing for me from that?
It's the party for me, it's 4,000 guys tonight. And 4 million girls, you can shake your body, it's 4,000 guys tonight. And 4 million girls tonight. That's just the chorus. Thank you.
Amazing, man. Thank you. It's really been nice having you make out time from school to join us on Click Light, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Of luck. I pray that God takes you to the highest place.
Amen.
All right then. Thank you. I had a really amazing time with that young lad. He just really got me inspired and happy, and he has a unique voice. I really appreciate the fact that he can actually sing in his dialect, and I know how to say I care about you now.
Okay. Okay, what is that?
You heard me when I said it.
That's a very cocky one. Anyway, good one. And you see, the problem with you is that you have a very slicky way of being very funny.
How do you mean?
Okay, I'll tell you what I mean after we'll take this. Now, she is what I described the definition of simplicity and grace.
She is Mrs. Florence Henne And at her 60th birthday, which held recently in Abuja, it was a new slogan. 60 is the new 40. Let's find out more and all that went down.
The beautifully decorated tent at the Blue Velvet Garden registered splendor and class as guests arrived for the 60th birthday celebration of Mrs. Florence Eme. While guests got comfortable, the celebrant walked in and she was lavishly greeted with the birthday song. Happy birthday to you. From there, it was time for the three-part event, which comprised the cocktail, dinner, and dance.
I did all I had to do, and saw it through without exception.
With the royal voices choir on the stand, the ambience was indeed relaxing and celebratory. In addition, the master of ceremony gave a good dose of humor, while friends, well-wishers and family joined on the podium for our opening dance.
She's your confidant, because when you're with her, you feel safe. You can tell her anything.
Florence and I have known each other for 30 years. She's a wonderful person. She's a lovely lady. You know, one of these women that I call the alpha female.
For our children, it was an opportunity to express how deeply appreciative they have for support and love through the years.
For always being encouraging and supportive and believing in me even at times when I didn't believe in myself. So we all love you, so happy birthday.
Mrs. Florence Eme is currently the Acting Director of the Mediation and Facilitation Directorate of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a position she has been working closely with former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in resolving the political and institutional impasse in Guinea-Bissau. Mrs. Florence Eme has had a wide range of education and working experience, especially in the development field. Her work in the banking industry and a long experience accompanying her spouse to various Nigerian diplomatic missions has scored her several firsts. These include the first female to be appointed a director within the ECOWAS peace and security sector, the first to break the jinx of appointing Directors General for the National Center for Women Development from outside the organization, a mother of three and grandmother. Mrs. Florence Eme was therefore celebrated among her friends and family for being what they describe as a woman of substance.
I saw something. 60 is the new 40. What do you mean by that?
Well, people put a lot of emphasis, especially in our culture, on age and all that. What I'm trying to say is that you can be 60 in age, but feel 40, able to do things that 40-year-olds do. So it's all about the state of one's mind.
The event climaxed with more dance and celebration from different generations. For Mrs. Florence Eme, the show of love will definitely last for a long time.
Eat all the pounded yam.
No, pounded yam would just make me look stoned like the Benue girl that I am. That's not fair. That's not fair.
My goodness.
No, okay, goodness. I'll get you. What did you say? Watermelon.
I said water first and foremost. Okay. Fruits, vegetables, and exercise.
But the thing is, I don't like water. I always want color.
in the water.
That's the mistake a lot of people make. You have to take a lot of water. It's
Are you
good
sure
for
you're,
you.
are you sure you're not guilty?
I'm not actually.
You drink lots of water?
Yeah, 5 a.m. I'm drinking a glass of water.
Okay, noted. I'll change.
Please do. It's so simple. So just take life easy and love everyone and be kind to one another.
So until we see you, one love. I am Gufan Shaji.
Cheers and God bless you. I am Ngozi Chude. See you next week.
Bye.
And it's another one from me. Hey. Listen, you tell me, say you know my gift. It be like say you did there when God they give me. This voice way I they take they sing. You open your mouth to tell me that I need to switch. You think say I start today. See the many blessings where they come my way. See me, I know they like to brag, but one thing sure, I know what I'm about. To be a bad guy, don't be by force. To roll up in your wrist, don't be by force. To be a bad guy, don't be by force. To roll up in your wrist, don't be by force. Leave me alone, make I do the one way I do. Make I do the roll, make I do the roll. Leave me alone, make I do the one way I do. Make I do the roll, make I do the roll. Who first buy motor by old model? First to start the race, we not finish well. Take a look around you and learn from those who fail. The lesson is not to run your mouth, but just to bless. Hey, if you say I start today, see the many blessings when.
Disaster occurs on frequent basis. Some we hear of, others we do not. Terrorism, flood, fire, earthquake, car or plane crashes, building collapse, and even armed robbery, each bringing asset and revenue loss, human mortality, and in 90% of survivors, great loss of hope. Flooding is the most common of all environment hazards, and it regularly claims over 20,000 lives per year and adversely affects about 75 million people worldwide. Nigeria has had its fair share. Emergencies, as the name implies, are not set out to happen, but they can be planned or budgeted for. Disaster management may not avert emergency threats, but it will decrease the impact of disaster where well handled. It then brings to the fore the key phases to management of disaster: mitigation, response, recovery, preparedness, and prevention. Every citizen must be well acquainted with all of them. Wishing disaster away does not avert it. Rather, as put in the local parlance, a man of valor is only identified at a time of emergency. Let us always be prepared.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Senate acknowledges President Muhammadu Buhari's request for violence of over 180 billion naira capital and recurrent expenditures. And more Senate standing committees continue their oversight duties on ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs for short, as members keep a tab on the implementation of the 2016 budget. Welcome to Senate 109 Interactive this week, where we focus on the activities of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am Shegun Ojelade. Once again, I welcome you to the program. Let's start the program. Senate at Tuesday's plenary acknowledged the receipt of President Muhammadu Buhari's request for violence of over 180 billion naira capital and recurrent expenditures. Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who presided at Tuesday's plenary, presented the President's communication to senators.
This request has arisen due to a number of reasons, including shortfalls in provision for personnel costs, inadequate provision ab initio for some items like the amnesty program, continuing requirements to sustain the war against insurgency, and depreciation of the naira. However, considering the fact that budgeted revenues are running behind targets largely due to the renewed violence in the Niger Delta, and there are no supplementary revenue sources, the most viable option for now is the development of appropriated funds from heads or sub-heads that may not be fully utilized before the end of this fiscal year. In the course of implementing the 2016 Appropriation Act, several MDAs have presented issues pertaining to salary shortfalls, the settlement of part of which has led to depletion of the Public Service Wage Adjustment, PSWA. These votes, which are the provision of 33,597,400,000, now has a balance of 2,758,296,000. The Committee on Salary Shortfalls, set up by the Honorable Minister of Finance, has come up with a figure of 41,875,083,020 naira as the amount required to settle salary shortfalls of non-IPs MDAs. Similarly, most of the IPs MDAs have already been notified by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation that they will soon be locked out of the IPs platform as their personnel cost budgets would not cover salary for the rest of the year. The IPs department in OAGF has forwarded a figure of 20,058,204,856 naira as the sum required to cover the shortfalls in salaries of IP's MDAs. The total recurrent expenditure requirement is 166 billion 630 million 886,954 naira, while the capital expenditure requirement is 14 billion 208 million 367,476 naira.
Also at Tuesday's plenary, the Senate considered a number of motions on critical sectors of the nation's economy. Waziri Zayanu, our National Assembly correspondent, is our guide.
A motion on the need to revisit the regulatory conflicts between JAMB and the universities in offering admission in Nigeria was presented by Senator Umaru Ibrahim Kurfi.
The introduction of JAMB examination has to the large extent fail to remedy the problem associated with JAMB. As such, it will continue to exist posed by challenges of Nigerian education system. Therefore, result that urge the Senate to direct JAMB to develop strategy to ensure efficiency in the conduct of JAMB examination. Second, urge the Senate to pass a resolution to direct the Nigerian Universities Commission, NUC, to scrap the post-JAMB examination in the entity.
When JAMB set out in 1978 to conduct entrance examinations into Nigerian universities, the idea was novel and, of course, it was well implemented. But as time went on, we have found out that this role that is being performed by JAMB was gradually being eroded by the internal mechanisms within the university system. This is why today, even when students go to sit for JAMB examinations and they score high marks, there is no guarantee that they will be admitted, because universities will find one way or the other or circumventing, this admission.
Presently, there is no post-JAMB exam going on in any university, because that was abolished by the minister acting in concert with all the. And I know that presently, the problem between JAMB and the universities is very simple. JAMB is supposed to conduct an examination across board. Universities are supposed to, on their own, through their university councils, admit students when they come with their JAMB results. And so this conflict is in this manner. There is an assumption that once you pass JAMB with a particular cutoff, that means that you automatically get a placement in the university. But that is not true.
I look at this post-JAMB examination as another way of aiding and abetting malpractices and denying some of the students that had scored reasonable marks in their JAMB's result. In that aspect, just like Senator Aberabes have said, I want to lend my voice there too, that both JAMB and the tertiary institution, and as well their universities, should sit down and then make sure that they arrive at one point. The point that they will not extort the student any longer.
Moving on now, members of the various standing committees of the Senate are on the field to monitor the level of implementation of the 2016 budget in ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs for short. But those who are not on the field are in the conference rooms, interrogating issues related to their areas of coverage to ensure better governance. One of such committees is the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream, which held an interactive session with members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMA.
The Senate is alarmed that the state of country's infrastructure, like roads, are worrisome, particularly due to corruption and mismanagement of resources over the years. The Senate notes that maintenance of roads can be taken seriously instead of constructing new ones. Observe that the use of toll gates provide Nigeria with an excellent strategy to improve its road and bridge for the benefit of Nigerians. The Senate recalls that toll gates was abolished by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo in 2004, who advocated that the revenue for road maintenance should rather be generated from an increased price of petrol. The Senate accordingly resolves that 1. Constitute an ad hoc committee of the Senate to carefully study the toll gate policy together with other relevant stakeholders on effective and efficient way to carry out policy aimed at producing a holistic package to generate adequate funds for road maintenance, and the money realized should be judiciously utilized in order to restore confidence in the masses. 2. All the Ministry of Work, Transport, and critical stakeholders to come up with a comprehensive policy to back up toll gate system with a view of avoiding the pitfalls of the past.
The motions of Senator Ali Wakili on the urgent need to review the implementation status of the Nigerian automotive industry and that of Senator Isa Misau on the menace of street begging were also moved at the plenary.
Senate regrets that while the automotive industry in Nigeria remains in comatose despite the combined existence of the Nigerian Automotive Industry Development Plan and the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Program, the situation is aggravated by casual failure of the CBN, the Nigeria Customs Service, and the National Automotive Council to utilize the accumulated funds generated over the years to transform the automotive industry. Therefore, distinguished senators, the Senate resolved to urge the motion resolved to urge the Senate to direct its committees on industry, trade and investment, custom and excise, and finance to conduct a public hearing to ascertain the current implementation status of the Nigerian Automotive Industry Development Plan and the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan.
While, for example, the system that produced the almajiris in the north is still very much in existence, its economic support tools have largely been discarded with the neglect of zakat collection and other forms of tax for its sustenance. The Senate is further aware that unconfirmed reports have it that an average of 65% of beggars from the northern part of the country flock into Lagos to beg every year, with the federal capital battling similar statistics. The Senate acknowledged that street begging not only affects the geographical and social structure of urban areas, it also portrays the country in a bad image to tourists and foreign visitors. The Senate is also concerned that street begging is a worrisome socio-economic challenge, in addition to being a serious menace in liability on the Nigerian populace. And it takes a heavy toll on the lives of teenagers who either act as guide to beggars or even engage in the act themselves, therefore are out of school. The Senate is further concerned that some of the women who engage in street begging also reportedly practice prostitution on the side, thereby leading to unwarranted pregnancies and the bearing of even more child street beggars, while some hoodlums even hide under the guise of beggars to carry out evil criminal deeds. The Senate accordingly resolved as follows: call on the government at all levels to strengthen the social welfare program to make it more meaningful so as to check the tide of physically challenged gravitating to the street begging as the only means of survival.
You are reappearing again because there is a substantial change in the composition of this committee. and we have new members who are desirous of meeting you and hearing from you firsthand what you are doing, your contributions, and maybe the challenges you have, so that together we can propose solutions to some of these problems maybe you may have. We will benefit from your immense experiences over the years in maybe advising or in the formation of the laws that would govern the activities of this very critical sector. So because of that reason, we feel it is very, very necessary for us to meet with you, hear from you, and we want you to feel free, tell us all the problems you have. We, in return, will tell you what we know, what we hear, what we perceive about you, so that Nigerians in the end will be better off, because they will be able to hear from the horse's mouth who did what, or who is supposed to do what, or who is doing what.
The formation of PP of independent petroleum marketer, we are not on our own, because the stations that we have that cut across the nations, we are not on our own. We depend on the product from PPMC. That's the source of our products. And the numbers of stations that we have in the whole country, we occupy 80% of the total retail outlets in the whole nation. That is to say, our numbers of outlets, our retail outlets in the nation is bigger. And why the major marketers and other retail outlets of NNPC have about 20%. So we have the majority. But today, the problem is that the treatment that we are getting from PPMC is that today, because of the crisis that we have for some time, which I said is normal to some establishment of this, but we came together to resolve the issues and decided not to, quarrel ourselves. But the PPMC that we are reporting to, or are supposed to feed us with products, based on those things that they find out, based on that crisis that we have, they now capitalize on that place. They don't give us what is to us. They don't give us our products. We don't get our products as our windows. We don't, if you go along the road in some rural areas, you will see some of our stations overgrown by weeds. And you ask yourself, is there no product in Nigeria? There are products in Nigeria. There are a lot of tank farms established. You can see the PPMC is working, the Nigerian government, they are working, NMPs, they are working, they are bringing in products. But why is there no product in most of the stations that they are seeing along the road that are owned by major independent marketer? The reason is because the PPMC that are supposed to give us our own allocation, refuse to give us our allocation as of today. They don't give us our allocations. What they do is to give our allocations to some tank farms, the tank farm owners, and then will be subjected to go to that tank farms to buy at any cost that they deem them fit, that they want to say to us.
You pay, your members paid in advance 32 billion. When an individual station or operator is paying from the IPMAN, is it paying in the name of the association or in the name of his own filling station or her own filling station? Then if they pay individually like that, the PPMC at that time, or now NPMC, when they are giving you products, don't they give to those who actually made the payment, or they give to an association to reallocate to those who paid?
The issue of this 32 billion that you have paid, we had a meeting with some NMPC organs about 3-4 days ago.
Yes.
And here they were telling us that, in fact, they have petroleum products that are not being lifted. In fact, they have like something like stagnation in the market. The glut, exactly. They said they have glut. So I'm surprised that you are claiming that they don't even supply you with petroleum products, that your filling stations are bushy, taken over by herbs and grasses, while the NNPC officials that really came here told us that they have glut. In fact, they are praying for people, begging people to come and lift because they have enough of petroleum products for all of them.
When you talk about the actual money that the PPMC is owing us, when we mentioned 32 billion, whether is it that we should be able to explain whether is it for all of us or individual marketers. I want to say this 32 billion is not for one marketer, it's for individual marketers that paid their money that they gave authority to load. And so by the time if the individual marketer pay with his company's name, assuming there is a AA company, and then an authority is given to that AA company to pay, he now paid his money to the system of PPMC. And they will start on the money without releasing the product. So by the time we calculated all our members from different depots of loading, we now find out that today in their system, the record is there. By the time we call them, they are not denying. We have the facts that this money, they are all there. Some of these payments are stayed for about 6 months and above. We have the
still there is corruption. And that is the reason why you have seen, despite the whole our depot, our refineries are functioning now. We thank Mr. President for bringing the refinery into order. But up till now, that order didn't affect. Well, the only example that I can cite, Wari Depot is loading DPK. And Kaduna Depot is loading DPK. Port Harcourt Depot is loading DPK. When I say DPK, I mean dual purpose kerosene. Okay. But you go to any Nigerian filling station, are they selling this product at a pump price? Why? Because we marketers were not getting it at a required rate that NNPC is supposed to give to bribe.
Can you, as a body, give us either on television or in private, maybe instances where you had to give these monies to people before you get the product?
The only thing that I will say here, to know that you know that people used to give money before they pick. At present now, there are some marketers who has outstanding ticket of DPK for over 1 year in those depots that they are loading. But up to now, they cannot be able to get their product. But you may find that somebody will pay today and load tomorrow. What happens?
And lastly, on the program for this week, Senator Rose Oku was recently in her Cross River North Senatorial District to touch the lives of the people. She is our guest on the interview segment.
With biting economic recession, National Assembly members are intensifying the implementation of their constituency projects as well as other initiatives to bring succor to the people. The gesture is to help promote democracy and identify with the people, mostly at the grassroots level. One of them is Senator Rose Nkwo, as she recently touched the lives of many in her senatorial district at an health outreach. She donated medical equipment and drugs to various health centers as well as free eye care for the people.
The medical outreach program was something in the health sector, was something that I had conceived then because, as you know, Medicare is almost out of the reach of our people now. You see so many people who die from minor ailments because either they do not have the funds for it or the hospitals do not even have the drugs and what they need to treat them. And so I began to look at that sector also as an area of need for our people. There are various areas of need for our people, but as a lawmaker, you can only do so much. Our core mandate is to legislate and to oversight and to expose corruption. We do not have a mandate to carry out projects, but in the wisdom of government, Nigerian government, they saw fit to make sure that each representative or each senator is able to do something in the areas that you represent in your constituents. That is the origin of the zonal intervention projects, funds. And it is up to us to utilize those funds, little as they may be, as much as is possible to reach the people. I used all of mine when I was in the House to do that. And this is part of the project when I was in the House. But becoming a senator now, I decided to make sure that it covered the entire senatorial district.
She's a mother. She's somebody who has the problems of people at heart. You can see it by her mere showing of the love she has by giving this free medical treatment, which some people, they have such opportunity, but they cannot carry out.
You talk about agriculture. What are you going to do in the area of agriculture to diversify the economy? Almost everybody says agriculture. So what are the programs? Which laws have you put in place to ensure that agriculture is diversified? The credit system to farmers, how simplified has it become? Because there's always been one form of credit or the other that is not accessible to those who truly need it, the small-scale farmers and the medium-scale farmers, who are many, truly many, and if all of them could be producing, then of course the issue of diversifying the agri sector as far as food production, food security and all that is concerned would be achieved. So what have we done in that respect? I know that we have just passed some legislation towards making credit more accessible to farmers. But you'll be expecting that government should have come up with these bills to the National Assembly in these respects.
And that's the package this week. We shall be back next week for another package of the program Senate 109 Interactive this week. I am Shegun Ojelade. Bye-bye.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
The metal gong, which is popularly referred to as ogene in the southeastern part of Nigeria, is a musical instrument made out of pieces of metal. In ancient times, the ogene does not only serve as a musical instrument, but also as a means of communication used by town criers to pass messages to the members of their various communities. In Igbo tradition, ogene is used by native doctors to invoke spirits. Also, in traditional wrestling matches, the ogene is beaten in order to boost the spirits of the wrestlers. The import of ogene in the traditional Igbo society cannot be overemphasized. That is why basically Every music group in Igbo land uses an ogene. The ogene is known to be produced in commercial quantities in Awka, the capital city of Anambra State, known for its popularity in blacksmithing. The production of ogene starts with cutting of the metal sheets into desired shapes and sizes, after which the cut out metals are placed into a furnace to heat. When the metal is red hot, it is then brought out and hammered into shape and a hollow created in between to produce the required sound. Even with the invention of modern musical instruments.
This is the network service of the NTA.
We live in a global market in the sense that you can create anything from anywhere and publish it anywhere, and you get buyers from anywhere. You get, even if you don't have many Nigerians who play games, there are many people who play games outside of Nigeria, and you can see it as a very good form of export.
Abiola Olaniran is the founder and CEO of GameSoul, a mobile gaming company based in Lagos, Nigeria. A graduate of computer science and mathematics from the Obafemi Awolowo University, he is one of those few whose educational choice aligns with his passion.
I've always been interested in technology, basically. So I started writing code, maybe I didn't tell you, at age 15 actually, before getting into university. I got into university at 16. Back then I used to see, what my brother was doing, because he also studied computer science. So basically I was building on that. Of course, our system of education was a bit of disappointment, getting to school and realizing that they don't actually teach you what is expected of you in the real world. And already being exposed to what is required in the real world, I was able to ignore, in a way, the school curriculum and just basically focus on what will be needed in the market. Because I like having autonomy of control. I want to implement things based on how I see them. And being in Nigeria at that particular time, it only makes sense for you to start something like that. So you'll be creating opportunity for yourself at the same time for other people coming behind you.
With the deregulation of the telecommunications industry in Nigeria, which gave birth to the GSM revolution, and years later, the dawn of the smartphone era, he proceeded to fill a gap and carved a niche for himself in mobile gaming.
I see when people buy a Windows phone at that point, they will say, oh, this is a good phone, it's very light, fast and all, but there are few apps on it, you get. So because there are not many people using the Windows phone, it turns out that there are fewer developers on the Windows Phone marketplace. So there are fewer applications on the Windows Phone. So that was the opportunity I saw, and I saw it as a great way to start creating applications for the Windows marketplace. And that way we were able to get a lot of downloads. I'm sure you know, like over 10 million downloads of our games on the Windows platform. So we were serving the people who are buying Windows Phone with our own applications. Also, there are no gaming companies in Nigeria. So, I mean, at the time, so it only makes sense for me to start one and create opportunity for other people like me who will be interested in creating games, creating graphics, animation, writing scripts for animations, and also looking for a niche market is another good thing. Not just following the crowd mentality and you finding your own opportunity. What makes it a business, what makes it an opportunity is the fact that there are not too many people doing it, or there are not too many people doing it the way you want to do it.
All right, so for a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, funding is an issue. Now, what was your experience in the beginning, and really should funding be a deterrent to actually starting a business?
For any business, as long as you can figure out how to generate revenue, I think you're fine. You get so in terms of funding, we first, like I told you before, we got funding first from 88MPH, but right from then we were able to start generating revenue as a company. Then we got a grant again, but the grant was basically just to go to another phase, to expand to another phase. And that way we were able to even increase the kind of revenue we are generating. So, I mean, the investment company that invested in games, so they just come out of the blues, right? They saw something first, which was the fact that I was skillful and I was creating mobile games right from school and publishing them and getting some downloads. You get then an investment company will see this as an interesting thing to invest in, you understand? So first of all, you have to show some traction yourself. Once you're able to show traction, there are a lot of people looking to invest in an idea as long as they know that they will get return. So it's not a charity. Because for any business, you're making money from something, you use it to develop other revenue sources. So that was why we started developing Android games as well. Even now, we have more Android games than Windows games now. We have Android games and Java games. So, and we saw partnering with telecommunication companies as a way of getting those games out there. So, first of all, as a business, the first thing to figure out is a business model. Does it make sense? Are you going to be generating revenue from this? Will you be profitable? So once that has been figured out, I think, yeah, you're fine.
With the multifunctionality of these devices, from utility to edutainment, social networking, business applications, and much more, he underscores how easy it could be for a young developer without initial resources to build something and grow organically.
As a developer, as far as I'm very interested in developing mobile games, I enjoy it so much, creating mobile games and creating even other forms of applications like music app and all. I see that there is opportunity in different regions of the world. My first game was published on the Windows platform and we got a lot of downloads, but less than 5% was even from Africa at all. You get, so most of the downloads are coming from other regions based on the device penetration. We live in a global market in the sense that you can create anything from anywhere and publish it anywhere, and you get buyers from anywhere. You get, even if you don't have many Nigerians who play games, there are many people who play games outside of Nigeria, and you can see it as a very good form of export. If you have a skill and you know people can enjoy it in other parts of the world, then you should create products that you can export to those people, and that way you get paid in dollars, which is even good for the economy. we create games, which is basically just for fun, and we generate revenue from it. So every passion can translate into a business.
The budding company may have other aspirations in software development, but they are very focused on localizing content to satisfy the lifelong human desire for entertainment.
Basically, our idea is to always use African story. It's always use our own kind of story and tell the rest of the world. You get the Japanese gaming companies have been able to do that. They will use things they are familiar with, their own style of art, their own folktales, their own. You get they will create games out of those things, and different people all around the world will play those things, like Mortal Kombat, Super Mario, and all that. You get so basically that's what we do too. We have the likes of Shango, Oya, but we have those many stories. You get we even have our own style of designs. So it's just for us to create content with those designs, to create stories, to tell ideas and stuff like that, and sell it to the rest of the world. So we just create games based on our experience as Africans. You get, and those are games that Europeans can make. Those are games that Americans can make, in the sense that they don't know our story. The style of music that we even put in our games, you understand? So it's just basically African experience. You just have to share your own reality, so to say, because the gaming market globally is actually very big. You get so. And Nigerians have the opportunity of bringing something new into their market. You get by creating their own kind of games and giving it to the rest of the world. In the nearest future, African games will be as popular as the Japanese or the Chinese games.
So GameSoul is getting quite popular, with about 30 games in the market, and especially with the launch of Gideon, what was the strategy here? I mean, how did you achieve this much success?
Running a business, I've been able to learn that different markets, different strategy. So you can't just copy the strategy that applies in another part of the world and paste it for this world. You have to customize the product for the markets you're trying to target. Human beings have different behaviors, and so should your product be targeted towards those behaviors. So most of the work, or most of the great things that are being done by the company these days are being done by the members of the team, the spirit of the team. So even some of the team members come up with ideas. So it takes a good environment or a good team spirit for that to happen, or else your team members won't even be excited about the job. So being able to create a good team is a key factor, and partner with the right companies. It gets one of the benefits of that is that you get credibility for your product. Sometimes right partnership could actually get you good fund. You get so. I mean, it's like standing on the shoulder of a giant, basically. So take for instance my partnership with Microsoft at some point, whereby they were able to feature my applications on the Windows Store. So basically being able to attract interest from giants that way, kind of like help your business and push you forward.
Indeed, Abiola attracted such interests through participating in and winning a number of competitions, which also helped hone his talents. However, he examines a critical factor that really should give technology a place of pride in Nigeria.
As a gaming company in Nigeria, in Africa generally, some of the challenges have been skill sets, first of all. Being able to find enough people who are very technical enough, especially in programming, to be able to create sophisticated computer programs. And the same thing goes for app development. If you're creating an application, so we need more skillful people, and our university haven't been doing a great job in training these people, and training our technology students to be good enough, because like I said before, that we live in a globalized world. So you're not just competing with people in Nigeria alone. You're not just creating products for people in Nigeria alone. Your product have to be able to stand when compared with the global products. You get, because I mean, why would someone want to download their game just because they are developed by Nigerians? No. They have to be able to stand with the international counterpart. So when you play Subway Surfer and you play Gideon, you get the difference shouldn't be, you understand, because people are exposed. So when it comes to IT, it will be more difficult. Of course, things like, I mean, infrastructure is a big issue too. But of course, we look for ways to get by.
Starting off as a young programmer in Nairobi, Kenya, he made a business decision to relocate to Lagos, Nigeria. Undaunted by either of these stifling environments, today he is confident that every passion is a potential gold mine.
At the early stage, when we first started, it was quite tough, especially being in another man's country and trying to run this startup. You have to keep programming and all that, which is why everyone should always do something they really love and something they really have passion for. I know I love writing computer programs, which is what has helped me to be able to carry on. I remember while starting them back then in Nairobi, a company called me that they needed a music app.
The network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live telecast